Good evening. This is the Ask Dr. Renee show. And for those that are tuning in for the first time, this show is here to motivate and inspire you to live the life that you deserve. Let's face it, this is not a dress rehearsal. You only have one life, so you might as well live it up now. So, all of my guests in the past completely understand my hashtag live life you deserve, and they have taken all sorts of jumps, leaps, whatever you want to call it, and decided that they weren't going to live the life that they were living. They're going to live the life that they deserve by their own terms. So some of my past guests have included Paul Carrick Brunson of the Paul Carrick Brunson Agency, Felicia Butterfield Jones of Ween, Michelle Williams of Destiny's Child, Royale Watkins, this is one of his shirts, Royale Watkins, a comedian, TV writer, etc., and a whole host of others. You can watch all the shows on my channel at Ask Dr. Renee. This is our 69th episode, and we're so excited to have Vashti Patrick Joseph. Vashti is a entrepreneur like myself, and this is Trep Tuesday, as everyone knows. So on Trep Tuesdays, we have entrepreneurs come and tell their stories, and so Vashti's going to share her amazing story with us today. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Renee. Thank you so much for having me for Trep Tuesday. I'm excited. So my name is Vashti Patrick Joseph. As Renee said, I am an entrepreneur. I'm a content creator. And I'm excited to be here. I am originally from Grenada, which is an island in the Caribbean.
Wait. Give me a minute. So, Vashti, first of all, so you grew up in Grenada. Vashti's a fellow West Indian girl like myself. And so we're in a really cool group, actually, for Caribbean content creators on Facebook that is really awesome. And actually, we all got to hook up and take a picture of the big group of us at a blogging conference this summer. So, Vashti, tell us, because you grew up in Grenada and then came to the States. So, first of all, when you grew up, what did you want to be?
Growing up, at first, I wanted to be a pharmacist. I remember wanting to be a pharmacist. And then I realized that science wasn't necessarily my thing. And then I knew for sure that I wanted to be an accountant because I had an aunt who was an accountant. So those are the two things that I wanted to be when I was growing up. First, I was a pharmacist and then an accountant. And then I was like, I don't like any of those things. So here I am.
So when you went to school, what did you study?
So I did my undergrad in business computer information systems.
Oh wow!
And I have my master's degree in e-business. It's back then when I did my degree, it was called e-business. It was just when online business was just starting to take off, and that was back in 2005, 2004, 2005. I went to the University of Wyoming, and so I have a master's degree in e-business. And I had no idea that everything would probably practically come full circle, and I would use a lot of the skills and the things that I learned back then to apply to what I'm doing now.
So did you go to undergrad in the U.S. or you went to undergrad in Grenada?
No, I went to undergrad in the U.S. I went to Midwestern State University, which is here in Texas, and then I moved to Wyoming for grad school. So
how did you end up in Wyoming? I just have to ask.
People always ask me that. So I ended up in Wyoming because I got a scholarship. So I got a full scholarship to go to grad school. Praise God. And so that's how I ended up in Wyoming. It was, people always ask me this. It was cold. It was, but the conditions were ripe. It was good for school because there wasn't much to do. You didn't have a choice but to do well. So. Yeah, so it was good. Yeah.
That is too funny.
Yeah, I always get that question.
I always wonder, like, when islanders end up in odd places, and I'm like, Wyoming? Were they talking about Wyoming and Grenada? I don't think so. So how did you end up in Texas, though?
How did I?
Yeah.
How did you end up in Texas? Is that what you said?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, originally, from Grenada, while I was in Grenada, I went to Midwestern State University, which has a pretty large population of Caribbean students. Oh. And there is a program in that school where a lot of Caribbean governments participate in, where they have these programs where you can go to, I know Midwestern State is one of them. So we got to go there for undergrad. We were able to pay on in-state tuition. And so that was like one of the big selling points, because you know how expensive it is. Back then, I went to school back in 2000, between 2000 and 2002. And so actually, no, 2002 to 2004. And so that's how I ended up in Texas. That's how I ended up in Texas. I went to another small town undergrad, which is Wichita Falls. I now live in Dallas, which is about 2.5 hours away from Wichita Falls. But Wichita Falls is another college town. It's really, really small. And people always ask, how did you end up here? So that's how we ended up here.
Wow. Okay. That is very interesting. Who knew?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a great program, though, because in-state and out-of-state can be the difference of thousands and thousands.
Thousands of dollars. Yes. So I was really, really grateful for that opportunity to go and pay in-state tuition. Back then, looking back on it, back then it was a lot, but looking back on it, it was not, as much as it is now. So that was definitely a blessing.
So, did you, when you went to undergrad, did you have any intentions of going back to Grenada, or you were like, no, I'm going to stay?
So, my intention when I came to the U.S., to go undergrad, my thought process was, I would go undergrad and then I would get a job. And my goal was to stay here for a while, just the opportunity to work and to, make use of the time that I had here, because I'm not sure if you're familiar with how international students work, but usually back then, when after grad school, you would have the opportunity to do what is called optional practical training. So you'd have a year to work in the U.S. So I definitely thought of, having that opportunity and making use of that opportunity, and then just kind of seeing where it would take me.
Okay.
So that was my plan.
Okay. So I know that you are married, and your husband is also from Grenada, right? So how long have you guys known each other?
We have known each other for this year. It would be about 21 years. We're actually about to celebrate our 10th wedding anniversary this year. So we've been married 10 years this year, but we've known each other for, over about 19, almost 20 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So did he do the same program? I mean, did he go to the same school as you in undergrad or no?
Yes, he did. Actually, we when we met, I was in the process. We found out that we were both in the process of applying to that school. So when we met, you were like, "Oh, okay, I'm doing that." He actually went to school a semester after I did, but we actually went to the same school. And then he did his master's degree at the same school, and I moved to Wyoming. But he was like a semester or two behind me. But we went to the same school for undergrad. Yes.
Very nice. I always love to hear a love story. Okay. So, so when you graduated, had you already started the blog then, or you started it shortly thereafter?
Oh no! So when I graduated from undergrad, and then I went to grad school. When I graduated from grad school, I worked for a year for the federal government, actually, at the Pension Benefit Guaranty Corporation in Washington, D.C. So I moved from Wyoming to Washington, D.C. I worked there for a year, and then so I did my 1 year of OPT, and then while I was working there, the company that I was working for, it was a really great company. It was a contractor company, but I needed to have security clearance in order to continue, and because I was not a U.S. citizen, that could not happen. And so what happens a lot of times is that companies would file for a work visa, and so they couldn't file for a work visa for me because I needed, to have security clearance, and the work visa would not have allowed me to have that clearance, at that time. So I ended up going back to Grenada, and I worked at the Grenada Development Bank, which is actually where my first job. I went back there, and I worked as the manager of finance and IT for 2 years, and then I came back up to the U.S., got married. My husband was here all this time, and we've been in Dallas for that ever since.
So when did the blog start? When you came back?
Right. Yeah. So I came back, and I came back up. We got married, and we were going through, the immigration process to become permanent residents. And when I started, so I came back up. I was here got married, and because we were going through the process, I could not legally have a job, right? So my husband had a job, but I could not legally have a job. So for me, I decided, I went natural, and I started posting a lot of, like my hairstyles and stuff. And my friends kept asking me, how did you do X, Y, Z? And because I cut all of my hair off, and then I kind of process, and then all of a sudden I had like a full puff, and so people kept asking me about my hair. So I thought, okay, maybe I should start a blog. So for me, the blog served the three reasons. I always tell people the first reason was because I wanted to get out of my comfort zone. By nature, I am an introvert, and I like just, I'm the kind of person I can work by myself for days, for hours. Like, I don't crave the human interaction. Like, I don't get lonely. So so one, it was for me to step out of my comfort zone. And then the other reason, because I wanted to share my hair journey, because people kept asking questions, so I figured I would document it. But then the overarching reason is because I wanted something to keep me active, So for me, my blog was a way for me to stay active and occupied, have my brain, working while I was waiting, going through the immigration process, and I could not legally have a job, so I needed, to do something, So that's how the blog came about.
So her blog, and I think it's posted below her, vpj.com. So your blog, how long did you blog before it started actually making some money?
So, as I said, when I started the blog, I couldn't accept any, right. I couldn't legally collect money. And so I was, people are like, oh, you can do X, Y. I'm like, no, I can't. It's not worth it trying to, make like $300 and, end up in trouble. Immigration for illegally, collecting funds. And so I blogged for I started back in 2011. This is going to be my 6th year. And so I started back in 2011, and then by 2013 or so, 2013 going to 2014, that's when I got my my work, authorization and all of that, and I can actually start, collecting, working on campaigns and that kind of thing. So for the first 2 years, it was actually good for me because I had the opportunity to really just kind of learn and immerse myself and learn everything that I could about blogging. Because when I started, I didn't know anything about blogging. I literally went to Google when I started, and I like how to start a blog. It took me to Blogspot. I followed the thing. I typed in a name, and the rest is history. So about 2.5 years or so, just because.
Right there. I have told 20 million people, if you don't know how to do something, to Google it. And people laugh at me all the time. And I'm like,
no, for real. Like, people ask me, how did you start? I'm like, literally, that's what I did.
Look, you can pay me to do it for you, but I'm telling you, I'm going to sit there and go to Google and say, how do you?
Yes. And the thing about it, though, is like Google has a lot of information. So I know a lot of people get overwhelmed and stuff. But, the ability to, like, pick stuff, I need and not have the other stuff overwhelm me. But I know a lot of people but that's literally what I did. I went to Google and I said how to start a blog. I remember when I was starting my blog, I had just passed away, and my husband was away for the funeral. I had actually just returned to the US, and I called him one day and I said, you know what, I think I'm going to start a blog. And he's like, okay, well, go for it. I went to Google how to start a blog, and I started off on Blogspot, and I just really immersed myself. My personality is one where if I don't know something, I will like stop at nothing to find out. And so I just kind of myself into learning everything I could about blogging and about, growing an audience. And that times, like, I didn't know much about social media. Like, I was on Facebook, but it was just personally. And so I didn't know much about like growing a Facebook page or like for business and that type of thing. So yeah.
And it's funny because Lovey just posted yesterday that apparently somebody interviewed her and had never Googled her. And she said, Google is free 99. And that is so true. I saw. You saw that? And it's sad you have to say this, but it's like, you guys, utilize Google. Because, I mean, the same thing happens to me with my show. I get these really odd pitches, and I'm like, have you watched the show? Did you Google
any of them?
Did you? This has nothing to do with what we're talking about. And I feel bad, but it's like, okay, well, you sent them email. I mean, so I guess I should respond. It would be rude not to respond, right? So I should respond. So I respond, but I'm like, did you Google me? Like, did you see? I get the oddest things. I get the oddest things. I'm just like, where did you get this from? Why are you sending this to me?
Yeah. I get some of these too. Like, people send me all kinds of stuff for like dating or and like information that they can find. Because in my blog on the sidebar it says I'm married, blah blah blah.
Right.
Like they just send. I guess they just send things that it would stick. Sometimes I guess it takes a long time to research every person that they're sending it to. So
I'm just like, wow. But yeah, so I'm glad that you figured out Google will teach you. So you were on Blogspot. So you did Blogspot for those 2 years or no?
Mm-hmm. Yes, I did Blogspot for about 2.5 years, and then I made the move over to WordPress because that's the time I really figured out. I was like, oh, okay, so you can make money, you can do all these things, and you can and I really wanted something that was more robust and gave me more options, and so I decided to make the move, like many bloggers do, from Blogger to WordPress.
See, I didn't start on that. I just started on WordPress. Leave out the.
See, when I Googled how to start a blog, Google owns Blogspot, so obviously,
exactly, which makes sense.
Yeah, so their results. Yeah, so their results would show up first, and so somebody just going in there typing how to.
No, I had a web developer that voluntarily, and I can't think of the name of her company, but thank you, Phaedra Fields. Phaedra created the website for me with the blog, and so she knew what she was doing because she had already been blogging. So that's how we my sister and I both, that's how we immediately started with WordPress. And this
my site was hideous. My first blog was hideous. So as I said, I mentioned I went to school for computer information systems. So I knew a little bit of code, HTML, and I can figure stuff out. And my first blog was hideous. It was so I didn't have a web developer or anything. It was hideous. A lot of times when I talk to new bloggers and they're like, oh, I want my blog to look like yours. I'm like, girl, let me show you what my first blog looked like.
Right.
I'm not saying yours has to look like that, but it's a process.
Right. You got to start where you are. Like my first one, I mean, it wasn't the bomb, but then Phaedra's like, let's redesign it. And the redesign was the bomb. And then, I redesigned it again. And it's just, it's just ever changing.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you remember what your first campaign was or your first check?
I want to say it was like $150. I think it was a campaign I think it was like some face masks or like these sheet masks or something like that. If I remember correctly, I think that's what it was. That's what it was.
Groovy. So, did you know about anybody that blogged?
Only when I got into the blogging space. I didn't know anybody before.
I mean, did you know them, like someone you could call and say, hey, how do I do this? Or
no. No. When I got into the space and I connected with other people, but I didn't have anybody to say like, hey, how do you, do this XYZ? Everything I learned, I practically learned it on my own. I learned it by doing or by learning. I had a lot of time on my hands at that time, so I spent a lot of time on YouTube and just immersed in myself and learning everything that I possibly could.
Now, you have a very, very nice size audience on YouTube. When did you start that?
Thank you. So actually, I started my YouTube channel 1 month, I believe, 1 month before I actually started my blog. And, that was really, really scary for me. Like I started my very first video, I was showing somebody. I was like, it was weird.
I saw you posted about that the other day.
Uncomfortable and just like but so I just hopped on there and got into it, and that was something that was really, really outside of my zone because I'm the kind of like I really like the background. I just like just kind of one of my friends called like a lot of my friends call me the quiet storm, and I guess I'm kind of like that. I just kind of do what I gotta do and just I just put my head down, work, and do my stuff. And so for YouTube, I just I got on there. I started with 0 subscribers, everybody else, and then people just kind of started coming. I would do a lot of tutorials and stuff, and so that's how I grew my YouTube. But now when people tell me, I'm really grateful for that experience because now video is, you have to use video, some type of video as part of your marketing, and people are, like, how did you get scared? I'm like, listen, when I first started my videos, you go back and watch them, like I was nervous. It was not perfect. The lighting was bad. But I started, and I'm so grateful that now I'm comfortable with video. Like I'll jump in front of, Facebook Live or Periscope or wherever. And so, so all of that was good training for me.
Start before you're ready. Exactly. I tell people done is better than perfection. Just do it.
Yes.
Because then it's done.
Yes.
Because then the first one is done. I don't know if you saw it was a thread in BLM. A girl was terrified about posting her first because this. We were like, you got to do the first period. So you might as well post it, then it's done, and then go on to the next one.
Yeah, and
But
then you correct. You make adjustments. You know what worked, what didn't
exactly.
work. I guess a lot of people have that fear of failure, or I think, like, I tell a lot of people, no, coming into the blogging, no, it's different than when I came in, because now there are so many resources and all the tools, and which is good, but it also kind of gives people that I gotta have this perfect site, I gotta have like all of these things, and I gotta have you know I got do all these things in order for my blog to take off. And so I didn't have that pressure, because even when I started, I didn't know anything about monetizing. And so for me, the pressure was off. And I actually, like, I didn't have, that pressure to get followers. And I think I started my Facebook page maybe about a year or so after I started my blog. And I was like, oh, maybe I should just start a Facebook page. So I'm glad that I didn't have that pressure to, you know, grow a following really fast and try to gain followers and campaigns and all kind of stuff. I got up to just really learn and just kind of go at my own pace.
You just because I just shared it. You had a blog post was about I stop waiting to start.
Yes,
Yes.
stop waiting to start.
Yes.
Yes.
And I
and that's
shared
something
that on
I had to
LinkedIn
learn.
and a couple other places. But that's exactly it. Do not. And the thing is, people will sit there and over research.
Overthink. Yes, I'm like, I tell people this. I'm a recovering overthinker. A lot of times people ask me, "How did you start?" I'm like, I don't mean to sound like I'm not thinking that you're dumb. I don't mean to be, like, I'm not trying to um what's the word, like, don't play you or act like you're dumb. But I started, I got as much information as I could that I needed to start. A lot of times we're waiting for like all the ducks to be in a row, though, for the all the wheels to be on the wagon. Sometimes the wheels on the wagon will be squeaky, and sometimes you got to start with a little squeak until you can afford to get some oil to put in the wheel. So, like, as I wrote in that post, like, had I not started a lot of the things that I started, like, I would not have been in position to get certain opportunities or do certain things or learn from my mistakes or grown in a certain way. So I always tell people, like, I have a Facebook page, a Facebook group called the Starters Collective, and I specifically made it for people. A lot of my clients are in there, like people who, because I also do like digital marketing, strategy coaching and all of that, consulting. But the group, I'm thinking of changing the name, but the intent of the group are people who are starting not as beginners, but people who are committed to starting, making moves, and taking action. Because there's a quote by, I'm not sure if is it Mark Twain. I don't want to misquote, but it says, you don't have to be great to start, but in order for you to be great, you don't have to be great to start, but you have to start in order to be great. Like, anything that you want to do, it starts with a start. So yeah.
We'll have the executive producer will make sure who said that quote. But
right. Thank you,
Miss
Executive Producer.
Study long, study wrong is another thing. Don't sit there and over.
Yes.
And I was an overthinker too, because people know the story of the Ask Dr. Renee show was I went to somewhere, I forgot. I had a meeting with some TV executive. I know exactly. I had a meeting with a big production company, and they said you need to grow your following. I was like, So I went home and was like, now how would I do that? So then I thought about it. I said, oh, I know. I could start a show on YouTube and see what happens, And so I talked myself out of everything. So when I said it, I talked myself right out of it and was like, that's the dumbest idea ever. But before I talked myself out, I emailed 5 people. And they were 5 people that had like 5 and 6 figure followings. And I said, well, if they say they'll be on, first I think I was convinced they were going to say no. So Paul was one person, Paul Carrick Brunson, Diane Valentine, Dr. Rowe. Who was the other? I know Tanya Winfield. She's the only person that has not been on the show yet. That was one of the 5. And I can't remember who the 5th person was. But I emailed them, and they all said yes. I go, oh, my God, I'm in trouble.
Now you got to do
it. Exactly, because I was like, now these people are waiting for me to say, okay, when? Oh, Elvira Guzman. Elvira, she actually just came out with her 2nd book. Awesome book, Purpose, Awaken and Succeed. Awesome book. Elvira was Steve Harvey's publicist for 9 years, and her story is amazing. She was the very first episode of the show. So thank you to Elvira.
Oh, wow.
First episode ever. I was like, oh my God, they said yes. Now they're gonna be texting me like, when are we doing it?
Yes.
So, I was like, I really have to do this. And then after we did one, people were like, well, when's the next one? Because then people started watching it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. I was like, what if I started? So I am just like you. I can overthink and talk myself out of, and when YouTube got rid of Google Hangouts on Air, I was like, we're in trouble. What are we gonna do? So I had to learn a new platform.
You gotta pivot.
But
you gotta pivot.
Exactly. And in this whole tech world, I think that you have to do a whole lot of pivoting because things change overnight.
Yeah, very fast. Yeah, it does. It's really, really fast.
Because even the blogging world, things change. Like, 1 minute you can get paid this way, but then next week you might not be able to get, like, perfect example. Tamara and I talked about how Mode Media and what's the other one? Glam something?
Glam and Mode, they're the same thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they changed name.
Mm-hmm. Disappeared. And unfortunately, they owe several people that we know money.
Oh, yeah, no! I had some money in there as well. Thank God. See, the thing about it is, thank God that I had, I am team streams, like team multiple streams of income, and so I was not. Yes, I wanted the money, and yes, they owed me money, but it was not something that took me out where I was, out on the street or I couldn't pay for stuff. Yeah, but
it's still enough. Like I was telling Tamara, and I knew for her too,
enough to hurt.
It was substantial enough amount of money for you to be like, ouch.
I'm like, darn,
it wasn't $50. So I'm like, no, it was 3-4 figure check that you would like to get.
Yes, I did the work. Please give me my money. Exactly. But yeah, that's the nature of it, and so that's kind of how.
And we personally, we've seen a lot of companies come and go. Because look at the live streaming that started with Periscope. What was it? The M1? What was it called?
Oh, the one that used to allow you to save your scopes?
No, them too. But I'm talking about the other competitor to Periscope that most people never did.
Oh, Meerkat.
Thank you. See, I knew it started with M.
Yeah.
Yeah, Meerkat didn't make it. Blab didn't make it. There's just so many companies we've seen come up and go. You just have to pivot. And if Vine is no longer, so you really have to figure it out. And then I know you know this because you also are a student of Lamar Tyler as myself. You have to have your mailing list as your mailing list. Your Facebook page cannot be the only way that you communicate with your audience.
Nope.
And I know you know that because I know you're monetizing off of your mailing list, as are the rest of us that know that it's just because we've seen that happen too. We've seen people's Facebook pages disappear. We've seen Instagram pages just vanish out of thin air. So that's another, and people always ask questions about blogging. And I'm like, you need to own your stuff because if tomorrow that Facebook is gone or this is gone, do you have the people's information to get in touch with them?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And going back to your point about, pivoting and owning your stuff, that's how so I've been blogging this year. It would be 6 years since I started in this space, right? And so within, like at the end of 2014, I've worked on a lot of great campaigns. I've worked with a lot of great brands. But after a while, I started thinking, okay, Vashti, what's next? Because that's how I am. I'm thinking, okay, what do I do next? Like my aim, like I told one of my friends that, my goal isn't to be like 40 years old and just like be doing the same thing, like being a blogger, right? And so not like there's anything wrong with that, but that can't just be, that's not the end goal. And so I decided, people always ask me, I decided to start Vin and Rose. I decided that, it was time for me to use a lot of these skills and these talents that I had, even from grad school, or the stuff that I learned through the process of growing my own online community and growing my blog. Because people used to always, I still get messages, inboxes, people asking a lot of the same questions. How did you X, Y, Z? And so that's how I started consulting. But more and coaching, but more so it's because I wanted to be in control of my income. Because with blogging is, it's great, like working with brands and all of that, but that's basically waiting for somebody else to pick you. And I did not want to be I didn't want to just wait for somebody to pick me. Basically, waiting for a campaign, competing with a lot of other different people. While that's great, and I still work on some campaigns depending on, like I have the flexibility now to be like, I'm not doing this, or no, I'm not, I'm not interested in that. But the end goal is you definitely have to have something of your own, because um, the landscape and it's constantly changing. And I saw there's a group that I'm in, like a bunch of bloggers. They did campaigns and they owed like thousands of dollars, and they can't get paid. So when you're in that situation, you're basically at somebody else's mercy. And so for me, it was important for me to stop thinking about, because for a long time I thought about, I wanted to start this, I wanted to start that. And it was time for me to stop thinking about it and to start doing, And so I launched, that's how Ven and Rose came about. I started Ven and Rose, which is my apparel brand where I sell faith-based and inspirational products and accessories.
Like the shirt you're wearing, I'm sure.
Huh?
I said like the shirt you're wearing, I'm sure.
Yeah, like the one I'm wearing. Yeah, this one is like, this one says worship brunch nap. This is like the Sunday funny, I call it. It says worship brunch then nap, which is what a lot of people do on Sundays.
I agree. I totally agree.
Yeah, we have a pack. Yeah, so we have apparel and accessories, and then since I'm Team Streams, Ben and Rose is one of my brands, and then I also have VashtiAJoseph.com, which is my personal website, and that's where I have do digital strategy, coaching and consulting. I like working with small businesses, and I specifically like to help them. Like a lot of small business owners are overwhelmed with just the whole landscape because there's a lot of stuff, right? So you can be on Periscope, you can do Facebook Live, there's email marketing, there's Facebook ads, and a lot of them are like, oh my God, I'm just so confused. This is, so what I do is come in and take out the overwhelm, right? So, and I have them come up with a strategy based on their goals. Because depending on your goals, you may not necessarily need to do all of these things simultaneously, but you need to do some of them. So that's what I do, help you figure out a strategy based on, what are your goals? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Where are your people? Are they on Instagram? Are they on Snapchat? That kind of thing. So that's what I do. But all of those things about because I made a decision to basically, I wanted to be in control of my money. I wanted to, and not have to wait, like 30 days or 60 days, 90 days to get paid for something that I did, a few months ago. And so I decided to, to have something of my own. And, I had a lot of experience with, as I mentioned, I have a degree in e-business and just growing my blog. Like a lot of things that I've learned about social media and digital marketing is through growing my blog, my YouTube channel, and all of that kind of stuff. So, it's, as I tell people, I never teach somebody stuff that I've never done or like I've heard about. It's stuff that I've all done and experienced myself.
Now, what does Ven and Rose stand for?
So Ven and Rose is named after my grandmother. Her name was Venetrice. Everybody called her Miss Ven. And Rose, my mother-in-law. They both passed away, but they were both faith-filled, positive, inspiring women who left a great, like a positive impact on everybody that they met. And their life just kind of embodies everything that Ven and Rose stands for. So Ven and Rose is named after them. My grandmother, a very special place in my heart. Actually, she passed away. Actually, tomorrow is actually the anniversary of her death. She took care of me when I was from birth. She actually quit her job so that she could take care of me until I was about 7 years old. Because when my mom had me, she was in nursing school. So my grandmother, she quit her job so that she could take care of me. And yeah, so the brand is named after Ven and Rose.
Very nice. And,
yeah, thank you.
And I'll have that website below, but it's venandrose.com. VENANDROSC. And she has Instagram and everything that goes with Ven and Rose as well. Mm-hmm. So you can see some of the really cool stuff she has. But it's very important that you learn, Lisa Nichols was on and she said that, Zig Ziglar is who said your quote.
Yes, that's who it was. Yes.
Zig Ziglar. And let me just say the quote again. You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be great. So that was by Zig Ziglar. But no, she said that the average millionaire has, I think she said 9 streams of income. I'd say 7.
7 to 9. Yeah, 7 to 9. Yeah.
So I just like you. People were like, well, how did you do this? How did you get an Ebony? And how did you, and I was like, and everyone's like, you should, get paid to do that. And I was like, really? And just like, I was like, really? Okay. And just like you, I was consulting people on, okay, so you need to figure out where's your audience and then go there because, not everyone's an expert at Twitter, not everyone's an expert at Facebook, but you need to be an expert at wherever your people are and go meet them there. And you'd be amazed how many people start and don't even have a pop up that collects addresses.
Mm-hmm.
Simple.
Yeah,
That is the simplest way.
I have a friend who I worked with. She's actually a chiropractor here in Dallas. That I worked with, and I went in. So I do, the done for you. Like I'll go do consulting, and I'll do like the coaching. Let me show you how. But I went in, and she was somebody who, she knew that she needed to be on social media, but she was just kind of overwhelmed. She's like, okay, what do I do? Where do I need to do all of these things? I'm like, okay, no. What are your goals? What do you want to do? And so I went in, I set up an email, automation and all of that kind of. And she texted me when she's like, "Oh my God, you made my life so much easier." So that's what I like to do because I know a lot of for me, like I love this kind of stuff. Every time something new happens, like today Instagram announced that you can now save the live videos. I was like, okay, good, because I was kind of
wait a minute,
not
stop,
as much on
what did you just say?
Instagram Live. They announced that you now save. It doesn't save on it doesn't remain on Instagram, but you can save it on your phone when it's done.
Really?
And I am yes, and
that's why I was very short lived on Insta Live because I was
yeah,
like, these don't
that's a
replay
waste
anywhere.
of content.
I can't repurpose this anywhere, so I'm out.
Exactly. That's exactly what I was telling someone. I was like kind of not on Instagram because I felt like it was a waste of time, a waste of content. Like I was time to, and then it would just disappear. And I am team repurpose as well. Like I love repurposing content. Like I repurpose my Facebook Live videos and upload it on YouTube and turn it into a blog post. And you have to find different ways to. And so I was like, Instagram, like what's up with that? But yeah, now
Snapchat,
they let
you can pull the stuff, and so I was like, well, Insta you can't, so I'm over here.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's cool.
They've added that feature as of yesterday. I think they announced it, and so I know a lot of people. Going back to the point, a lot of business owners they're like, he's like, girl, do I need to be on Snapchat? Do I need to do all of this like email marketing? Or what do I send? What do I say? So yeah, that's what I do. I really love that. Just helping people take the overwhelm out of online marketing and just develop a strategy. I believe it's important for you to develop a strategy that works for your business goals because everybody doesn't have the same goals. Of course, we all want to make money. Obviously, that's like the bottom line. But then there are other things that come into place. So.
Groovy. Let me remind everyone you can ask questions. There is a live chat feature in the new YouTube. So if you have questions, if you type them in there, the producer will get them over to us and we will answer them. So please definitely
questions. I like questions.
And if you want to, you can tweet them and they'll pop up somewhere on one of these screens and I'll read them too. I've got way too many screens going. But yeah, if you have questions, please let us know. But yeah, that's really interesting. I did not see that announcement about Insta. But yeah, I am with you. I get very excited when people, have a breakthrough or they, something amazing happens. I'm like, that's, especially people who work hard and you see them working hard and you're like, wait a minute, they are working way too hard for something not to happen. So that is awesome. So when you first started, like, what was your social media? Like, what was your one platform that you were like, I cannot live without?
At first it was, when I first started, I just did my blog and then I was on Facebook. Facebook was the first platform that I established a Twitter account and then I was on Facebook for a while. And then Instagram, it took me a while to get on Instagram. Eventually I got on Instagram and I kind of fell in love with Instagram. But now Facebook has always been my top platform. Just because most of my traffic comes from there, even from Ben and Rose, I have an Instagram account, but I always pay attention to the metrics and the numbers. My dashboard, and I'm like, okay, the majority of my traffic comes from there. The majority of the sales are people who come through Facebook because I run a lot of Facebook ads and that type of stuff. So, I try to make sure that my time is balanced based on where the results are coming from. So I would say Facebook, when I started off, that's where I was predominant. Like I grew my audience on there. And then on Instagram as well, I have a pretty sizable audience on there. But I think Facebook is, in terms of performance, Facebook is top, and then Instagram. Okay. And of course, you have to have a presence on, Twitter and Pinterest and all the other places. But the places where the traffic comes from and the places that affects the bottom line is Facebook. So a lot of times, when I see people, they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna abandon my Facebook page." I'm like, no, don't do that, because you can do a lot with Facebook, even live. Yeah.
And you can, there's so many ways to automate things so that you're not overstretching yourself, because Twitter was that's how people got to know who I was. That was my thing. Like, Twitter was my thing. And then, I always had a Facebook page, and then, and actually my client, I had actually given her my logins because I didn't use my personal page. So she was able to just add all these people, because I knew I was going to need all these people for something. So, and it worked. It worked completely. It worked. So, yeah, Twitter was my thing. And then when Periscope came, Periscope was owned by Twitter, and they went together, and it worked out really well that I did Periscope because it was with Twitter. Facebook Live, when it first started, I wasn't very excited. I'm getting there.
I'm a Facebook Live girl. Like, I tried. I think for me, Periscope was, I don't know, in the beginning I kind of didn't, I don't know. To me, it was like annoying in the beginning, and then I don't know what happened. I got on there, but I just we never really kind of fell in love. Right. I still tried to, give, some attention to that platform, but definitely Facebook Live. I will hop on Facebook Live in a minute.
Well, I always tell everyone, Facebook are the people that already know me, and they really are not checking for me. So that's why I liked Periscope, because Periscope, complete strangers were like, when is she coming on? Where is she now? Like, they were hounding me. So I was like, and that's where money was coming. I was getting clients.
Listen, you got to go where the money, that's where your people were.
Say, hey, if you want to log in right now, pay $100, I'll talk to you. We'll, I would have an inbox full of money, and I'm like, what? So, yeah, Periscope that was my thing. I'm like, this works. This really works. And then, even when Lisa Nichols was on the show, she was doing a Periscope Live. She saw me, was like, oh, I'm going to be on the Ask Dr. Renee show today. Please throw up that link. She had like 2,000-3,000 people sitting there watching. So, it just ended up being like Periscope was my spot. And I'm like, okay. So, but yeah, of course, I'm on everything, though. And that was the thing. Like, you go in and you just get your name on everything. Even if you're not going to use it.
You secure it. You have to secure it, even if you're not even going to use it. Because you use it in the future, but you don't want somebody squatting on your,
Yeah, because I learned that lesson the hard way. When I did Instagram, I was late to it, and Dr. Renee was taken, so it's Dr. Renee MD. That's my first account. But then when I launched with Ask Dr. Renee, I just went and got Ask Dr. Renee on everything, and so I do have Ask Dr. Renee on everything. So that is very, it's such a good idea, and it's such a bad idea to change names 20 times. Like, it's so difficult, and I know so many people that go through it, or, I have a client that must have like 4 different names on different, and it's detrimental to you because you don't remember what's what.
Right.
So when you're doing a radio interview, you're like, Yeah.
I changed my blog name once. So when I started my blog, it was called the Hodgepodge Files. And I was the hodgepodgefiles.com. And then, but on Facebook, Instagram, I was VPJ because that was my YouTube channel. And so it was not too difficult because when I had to make the change, everything else was already VPJ. Except my Twitter account, it has a 1 because somebody else has it. But changing can be a pain in the butt, but I think it's really important as much as possible, as you said, to be consistent across platforms, because it makes it easier for people to find you. Like, you can't be like, the Hodgepodge Files here, Sister Girl over there, Miss Caribbean over there. It's confusing because people.
And then you have to, when you think of a name, you have to think of something that will stick with you. I will be Ask Dr. Renee all night and day. I could be married tomorrow, divorced next week. I will be Ask Dr. Renee. We ain't got to worry about nothing. That's just what it's going to be.
Yeah, and yesterday I was having a conversation with one of the ladies in my group, and we were talking about why it's important to own your domain name, your name as a domain. And so she was like, "Well, I don't know. I thought I'm like, girl, hurry up and get." And so I was telling her, you know, I won't be VPJ forever. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen with the blog, but I'll always be Vashti, So it's important, and of course, it was important for me um to grow my personal brand, to be known as Vashti, and not just like because when people think of VPJ, they think of the girl with the blog, and they don't necessarily know Vashti the person. Like yesterday, it was my birthday, and I'm 38, and people on my page are like, "Oh my God, you're 38. We had no idea." I'm like, so I really wanted to kind of separate Vashti the person, and even a lot of people don't know that I do, like coaching and consulting, because all they see is like Vashti, like VPJ, the girl with the blog. So it was important for me to separate that because, as I said, as you mentioned, like I won't always be VPJ, but I'll always be Vashti.
Yes. And happy birthday. I mentioned that in the Facebook Live I did beforehand.
I saw
birthday.
it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, thank you. I'm a spring baby.
Yes. And you know what? I turned 40 and no one knew because I never would say my age. But when I turned 40, I said it. And they were like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." So.
That's exactly what happened to me. It was so funny. So I would always say, not like I was trying to hide or anything, but I would always say, I'm over 30, or, I'm closer to 40 than I am 30. And so I just decided, and I said, I think I hashtag this is 38. It started on Instagram. And people were like, "What? You're 38? What? Where?" Like, how old did you think I was? One girl said 27. I'm like, bless your heart. I'm like, girl, I have not been 20 anything for at least 10 years. Right. So, right. But yeah.
So what do you think is the most challenging part of getting to where you are now?
The most challenging part of getting, or like being at where I am now?
Whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Okay. I think for me, the challenging part was starting. And looking back on it, that was like one of the challenging parts. But once I started, and there were times when I can't say, like, I know a lot of people say sometimes, I just want to quit, because for me, when I started, as I mentioned, like I didn't have the pressure of like monetizing and all of that because I couldn't do it. So for me, I really grew to love blogging and the process and all of that. And then as I grew, I realized one of the things for me that was slightly not difficult, but I had to make the decision to pivot a little bit. So when I started, blog was primarily about natural hair, but then I decided I wanted to expand and include other topics and other things. And so that was kind of slightly challenging. It wasn't bad because I was able to pretty much rebrand. I think it's just one of the challenges is just what would I say, just staying, I won't say focused, or I won't say focused, it's not like I'm on focus, but just managing all of the moving parts and pieces. And as I grew, like I started off as a solopreneur, basically doing it all. That's how we all start off, like doing it all. And now I think challenging is handing off lots of different pieces to other people, just because it's like when it's like a baby. Like, I don't have any kids, but it was like your baby, and you hand it off, and be confident that that person is going to do it the way you want it, or well enough. So I think that's one of the, I won't say it's a challenge, but it's definitely something I know. For you to grow, you can't like coddle. If you have a baby, you can't coddle them. So that's kind of how I look at it. But it's definitely, sometimes you just want to all your because you know how to do it, but it's not, if you gotta go, then that's not, that's kind of counterproductive. So
my next question, funny, the executive producer had the same idea. Being from the Caribbean, what does your family think? Because in all honesty, I will say that because we are half and half. So my mother's from the United States, my father's from the islands. So I will say that my father's family actually is the most supportive. but what does your family say? Because everyone, is like, wait a minute, you're not working. You know what I mean? Because you're at home all day, every day. Like, you don't really have a job.
Oh my goodness, yes. So when I started, as I mentioned, I could not have a job, and I've never been I only recently shared the part about, not going through the immigration process because we've gone through it. But just by nature, I've never been like, my husband and I have always been pretty private people. And so that was nobody's business. Like our family knew that, but for everybody else, it was just, people would say stuff like, people would make comments like, oh, I saw you playing on the internet, or I saw you modeling on Facebook. I'm like, girl, like, what are you talking about? But but people, a lot of people, what I realized that people didn't understand about blogging or what it was, because to them it's like, why don't you have a blog? Like, why are you like writing on this blog and posting on hairstyles and what is this, like, how is it that you don't have a job? But my family has always been very supportive. So just my parents, and then I have two sisters at home, like that I grew up with. And my husband's family, it's pretty small. They've always been pretty supportive. But I think in general, in Grenada did not get like what a blog was. But now I know a lot of people, a lot of people are more versed. The blogging community in Grenada is pretty, it's growing and it's vibrant. And a lot of people told me that I'm like the pioneer, because I was like one of the first people from Grenada that I guess. Well, I'm not sure. I wouldn't say I was the first blogger, but I guess persons who they kind of got to know about, and people knew was from Grenada and that kind of thing. But my family was pretty supportive. My mom, like, they didn't really understand it a lot of the time, but they just kind of went along with it. Like I remember when I showed my mom, and she was like, "So, like, how does this blogging thing work?" And I remember showing her a PayPal like payment that I got, and she was like, "Oh, so how?" So I had to explain the process and stuff, and my sisters, I explained it to them, and they're like, "Oh, okay." But a lot of people, they're like, "Why don't," as you said, like, why don't you have like a real job? Like, what is it?
Well, what's
But that was back then.
You have to have multiple jobs really to be working. So,
right.
So look, you sit at home all day every day, and you what?
Yes, like people. Yeah. People are like, why you're playing on the internet? Like you're always on Facebook, or why are you like playing on the internet? I'm like, I'm not playing on the internet. Like, to you come on Facebook for personal, for pleasure, to come and scroll. But I am here, like, this is part of what I do. So it's a while, I think, for people to understand or grasp it. But I think a lot of people are much more, they're much more aware of kind of how it works.
Because,
maybe
bloggers are popping up everywhere now. Because, Demetria Lucas Doyley is on the commercials for Pantene during Being Mary Jane every single week. And it clearly states on the screen she's a blogger. Lovey is about to have a TV show, and it clearly stated Lovey was a blogger. So, I think now people are starting to understand, because it is becoming so well known. I just was watching a commercial for something today. I don't even know who the person was, but it said blogger across the screen. So I was like, oh, So they're using bloggers and influencers so much now that everyone is starting to figure out, oh. But it's funny, because when I started with Twitter, they were like, why do you tweet? I think that's so crazy. And, there was people on there that talked about when they ate and what they ate. But I was never one of those people, though. And I kept trying to tell people, my private life is my private life. That's not what I'm on there for. And they just kept talking. I said, y'all keep talking. And, in less than my first year of Twitter, I went to Star Jones's house for the weekend. I spoke to Damon John on the phone more than once. So I was like, okay, see what I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about me. I got this.
Right.
But I have to tell this one story, and then I'm going to ask you, we'll wrap it up, one final question. But you are the first person that recognized me outside of me being in Chicago or Detroit. I was walking down the street at Essence Festival in New Orleans. It was dark. I don't know how she saw me, because I am not light, clearly. And she said, "You're Dr. Renee." And I was like, I am. So then I talked to her, I was like, oh, I remember you're in the group and everything. But the funniest thing was, after we walked away, my sister goes, "You've got to do better with that." I'm like, what are you talking about? She goes, "You looked at that girl like she was crazy."
I didn't think so.
Well, I'm glad you didn't think so. And so my sister's like, "No, you've got to do better, because I'm sure more people are going to know who you are, and you can't look at them like that. You need to just, be friendly and figure out something to say. Just don't look at them like that." Okay, so I've gotten far better, because it's happening way more often now. And I mean, it's funny. This guy followed me in the grocery store one day. That was the funniest thing ever. I was on the phone with my dad the whole time, and he was like, "You didn't know him?" I said, "Not from a can of paint."
Yeah, that has happened to me. That's so funny because I remember seeing you at Essence Fest. I was like, oh, that's Dr. Renee. I have the ability to, if I've seen you once,
Me
like I've
too.
seen
Me
you,
too. I'm the
I've
same way.
interacted with you, like I'll remember your name. I'm like, oh, I know her. Okay, yeah, she's in that group. Yeah. But people recognize me in the grocery store a lot. Like people will call me like, oh, VPJ, or like I'll be at the mall and somebody will tap me on my shoulder. You're VPJ, right? I'm like, yeah. They're like, oh my God. I'm like, girl, what's wrong with you? And they're like, you're so nice. I'm like, yes, I'm a person just like you. But
right.
it gets, in the beginning it was kind of weird. But now it's, I've kind of gotten accustomed to, but it's still kind of, wait, what?
It is. It's like, huh? Like, I'll tell my sister, I went to some event, I can't remember, and this girl's like, let me take a picture with you. And I'm like, okay.
Me?
Right. Like, who am I? But, okay. And, I'm not even going to say who it was, but this person who is a celebrity, if you ask me, she shouted me out like more than 5 times on Periscope one day. My sister's like, you know her? I said, no, I don't know why. She kept saying my name. So then I met her at the NAACP Image Awards, and girl, she was more excited to meet me than I was her. I was like,
see?
Well, okay. Well, alrighty then. But what is next for VPJ, Ven and Rose, Vashti, ajoseph.com? What's next?
So VPJ is, I'm not sure where VPJ is going. So as I said, I'm in my 6th year. So right now it's a lifestyle blog, and I use it kind of like, I wouldn't say in my diary, but I enjoy, writing on the blog. And so it's going to stay here for a while, but I'll focus for Ven and Rose. Obviously, my focus is continuing to grow the brand, to add some other, product, to add different types of products. I also want to branch out into doing possibly some events, surrounding the brand. And obviously, Joseph, that's my personal brand. That's, going forward. That's where a lot of my focus is. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much it. So right now I'm focusing a lot on, services and clients and that type of thing.
Groovy. I just have to ask, do you drop ship your shirts, or you actually get them, you have an inventory?
Actually, I do. I drop ship. The majority of my items are drop ship. And actually, if I was to give a little plug, I actually did a webinar maybe about a month ago about getting started, like the step by step, getting started, where to find stuff, how to market it, all that type of stuff. And I actually have that product on my website. It is vashtiajoseph.com. And if you click on the product tab, you'll see the training, so if for anybody who's interested in getting started with drop shipping, which is basically not carrying inventory. For me, like the training was titled "How to Create an Additional Stream of Income Selling Physical Products Without Managing Inventory," because a lot of people, I'm team streams, but I also want to make sure that I have, make the best use of my time. And so for me, it was easier, or, it was a good decision to have it drop ship, have somebody else handle the shipping and the printing of that instead of me doing it myself. And so, I actually have a training on my site, vashtiajoseph.com. You can find it on there.
Yeah, and so please, I hope everyone was listening, because everybody wants to start T-shirts or mugs or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Please go check it out, because this is one of the easiest, best ways to do it. Because holding inventory can be very costly if you don't have a whole lot of extra money. Then you don't necessarily want to do that.
The startup costs and all. I covered all. Like the training was when I did it, people were like, "Oh my God, this is like a blueprint." I'm not trying to toot my horn or anything, but you can definitely. I went through the steps because it was something that I got asked a lot. I went through all the steps: how to get started, where to find things, how to market, and all of that kind of stuff. So hopefully, it will help somebody to create an additional stream of income.
Yes, and next week, that's a perfect segue, because next week we have Arsha Jones on, and she's the queen. teasinthetrap.com. And if you've not visited Teas in the Trap, you need to go visit it, because she has some really awesome shirts over there.
I love Arsha. She's one of my good friends.
Not quite so Christian, some of them, but but they have some really cute shirts and cute sayings. And so she's on next week, and so she can talk more about even having your own inventory and printing shirts and stuff too.
Right.
But you can follow me everywhere at Ask Dr. Renee, and Vashti is at VPJ1. She's at VPJ. She's at Ven and Rose, And she's on Pinterest, she's on Snapchat, she's on Instagram, Twitter.
You can follow me. So, if you're a business owner, I have a Facebook group where I share, resources, tips, trainings, and that type of thing. It's actually pretty new. I had another group, but I closed it, and so I have a new group. If you search for the Starters Collective, I'm actually probably able to change the name, but if you find me on Facebook, VashtiAJoseph.com, you'll find the links all there. So, yeah.
Yes. And she has all of her social media icons on her site, so you can click right to and go and visit,
Yes.
all her different audiences and networks.
Yes.
But thank you so much. This was awesome. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problemo. And we are going to, like I said, next week, same time, same place, we will have Arsha Jones, who leads a Facebook group I think we're both in, Brand Build and Launch. And we will see you next week. Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.